14. Beloved. The Parkers, actors who tragically passed away. Their lives will amaze you. 13 out of 14 cast members of the Parkers are gone. Some died broke, some died alone, some died fighting diseases they could not afford to treat, and almost none of them received the farewell they deserved. These were not background performers. These were architects of laughter who built something millions of families gathered around every week, and the industry discarded them the moment the ratings stopped. Today, Black Excellence Legends is telling the stories that Hollywood never wanted told. Stay until the final name, because the last story will make you question everything you thought you knew about fame, loyalty, and what this industry truly owes the people who built it. Yvette Wilson, Estelle Wilkerson. Some people walk into a room and instantly make it warmer. Yvette Wilson was that kind of person. Born on March 6, 1964, she carried a natural comedic energy that felt effortless on screen, the kind of talent that makes audiences forget they are watching acting at all. When she stepped into the role of Estelle Wilkerson in The Parkers in 1999, she was 35 years old and at the peak of her creative powers. Estelle was not just a supporting character. She was the emotional backbone of the show. Nicky Parker's most loyal friend, the woman who told the truth when nobody else would, and the comic relief that made 110 episodes feel like they were never quite enough. But the moment the cameras stopped rolling for the last time in 2004, Yvette's life began a slow and painful unraveling that the public rarely saw coming. The entertainment industry, which had embraced her so warmly during the Parkers, offered very little afterward. Small roles, brief appearances, and long stretches of silence replaced the consistency she had worked so hard to build. Then her health collapsed. She was diagnosed with severe kidney disease that required both regular dialysis and a full transplant to survive. Before she could face that battle fully, cervical cancer entered the picture, spreading aggressively and compounding a medical situation that was already desperate. The financial toll was devastating. Despite her years of work on a nationally aired television show, Yvette could not afford her own medical care. Friends launched a crowdfunding campaign on her behalf, a heartbreaking reminder of how little financial protection the entertainment industry offers its performers once the work dries up. Her marriage to music producer Jerome Harry, which had begun in 2001 as a source of joy and stability, buckled under the combined pressure of her illness and mounting debt. The relationship that was meant to be her refuge became another casualty of circumstances beyond her control. On June 14, 2012, Yvette Wilson passed away at the age of 48. She deserved far more time, far more resources, and far more recognition than she ever received. Her laughter was a gift, and the least the world can do now is remember her name. Thomas Michael Ford, Mel Parker. There is a particular kind of man who spends his entire life trying to lift other people up, even while quietly carrying weight that would crush most. Thomas Mikal Ford was that man. Born on September 5, 1964, in Los Angeles, California, Ford grew up with an understanding that performance was more than entertainment. It was communication, connection, and responsibility. When he joined the Parkers in 1999 as Mel Parker, Nicky's ex-husband and Kim's devoted father, he brought a warmth and emotional sincerity to the role that stood apart from the show's comedic core. Mel was not always funny. He was sometimes vulnerable, sometimes flawed, and always human. That was Ford's gift, the ability to make audiences feel something real inside a half-hour sitcom. After the Parkers ended, Ford's career slowed in ways that were never fully explained publicly. Appearances in New York Undercover and Who's Got Jokes kept him visible, but not established. Stage productions gave him creative outlets, but not financial security. Behind the professional challenges, his personal life was fracturing. A 17-year marriage to Gina Sasso, A relationship that had survived the unpredictable rhythms of the entertainment industry for nearly 2 decades finally ended in 2014, leaving 2 children navigating a divided household. What Ford did with his pain is worth remembering. Rather than retreating into bitterness, he founded the nonprofit organization Be Still and Know, dedicated to supporting at-risk youth. He authored motivational books including Positive Attitude and I Am Responsible for Me. He visited schools, spoke to young people, and used his platform, however diminished from its peak, to leave something meaningful behind. In June 2016, he completed a documentary on bullying. 4 months later, on October 12, 2016, Thomas Mikal Ford died at the age of 52 from a ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm in an Atlanta hospital. His estimated net worth at the time was $2 million. But the children he reached, the lives he touched, and the sincerity he brought to everything he did, those cannot be measured in dollars. A man who gave more than he ever received deserves to be remembered exactly that way. Isabelle Sanford, Evelyn Nana Smith. Before there was a guest role on The Parkers, before the Emmy, before the standing ovations, there was a woman standing alone in Los Angeles with 3 children, no husband, and a clerk's salary from IBM, refusing to give up on a dream that the world kept telling her was unrealistic. That woman was Isabelle Sanford. Born Eloise Gwendolyn Sanford on August 29, 1917, in Harlem, New York, Sanford did not arrive in Hollywood through privilege or connection. She arrived through sheer endurance. Her marriage to William Richmond had been suffocating and marked by betrayal. In 1960, after years of tolerating a situation that diminished her, she left, relocating to Los Angeles with nothing but her children and her conviction. She worked by day and performed by night, quietly building a career in theater while keeping her family fed. Her breakthrough came through All in the Family, where she first played Louise "Wheezy" Jefferson, a role that would eventually carry her into The Jeffersons, one of the longest-running and most culturally significant Black sitcoms in American television history. In 1981, she made history by becoming the first Black woman to win the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series. That win was not just personal, it was a milestone for every Black woman who had been told the door was not open for her. Yet even with that Emmy, Sanford was consistently underpaid compared to white male co-stars. Opportunities narrowed as she aged. Hollywood's structural inequities followed her even at the height of her recognition. In 2001, at the age of 84, she appeared in The Parkers as Evelyn Nana Smith, a graceful cameo that felt like a full-circle tribute to a woman who had given television some of its most iconic moments. In September 2003, she underwent surgery on her carotid artery. Her health declined rapidly afterward. On July 9, 2004, Isabelle Sanford passed away at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center at the age of 86. Her estimated net worth was $3 million, but her real legacy is immeasurable. She proved that dignity, persistence, and excellence cannot be underpaid forever. Gary Coleman, himself. Few stories in Hollywood are as painful to tell as Gary Coleman's. Not because it ends in death, all stories do, but because the suffering was so preventable, so systemic, and so nakedly unjust that it is impossible to recount without feeling a deep and genuine anger on his behalf. Born on February 8, 1968 in Zion, Illinois, Coleman was diagnosed at birth with a congenital kidney condition called focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. The disease stunted his physical growth, limiting his height to 4 feet 8 inches, and required lifelong dialysis and multiple kidney transplants to manage. He was, from the very beginning, a child fighting on 2 fronts, medical and social, before he ever stepped in front of a camera, and yet he became a star. As Arnold Jackson in Different Strokes, which premiered in 1978 when he was just 10 years old, Coleman became one of the most recognizable child actors in the world. The show ran for 8 seasons. His catchphrase was quoted everywhere. His face was on magazine covers. By all visible measures, he had made it. Behind those measures was a catastrophe. His adoptive parents and financial manager had systematically drained the fortune he earned as a child. In 1989, he filed a lawsuit and won, but received only $1.3 million, a fraction of what had been taken from him during his most profitable years. The legal victory was hollow. The money was gone. As he aged out of child roles, the industry that had profited from his image offered him almost nothing in return. He worked as a security guard at a shopping mall. He took self-deprecating roles in low-budget productions just to survive. His marriage to Shannon Price was turbulent, isolated, and brief, though she remained in his life in a capacity that drew significant public scrutiny after his death. On May 28, 2010, Gary Coleman died at the age of 42 following a brain hemorrhage caused by a fall. His net worth at the time of death was approximately $75,000. A former multi-million-dollar star, the system did not just fail Gary Coleman, it consumed him. And that truth should never be forgotten. Estelle Harris, Miss Agnes. She had one of the most recognizable voices in American entertainment. Sharp, high-pitched, and so perfectly calibrated for comedy that it seemed almost engineered by nature for the purpose. But Estelle Harris was far more than a voice. She was a performer of remarkable consistency, a woman who gave everything to every role, no matter how small, and who spent her final years grappling with a quietness that her entire career had never prepared her for. Born on April 22, 1928, Harris built her career methodically over decades, accumulating a body of work that touched multiple generations of audiences. Her most iconic role was Estelle Costanza on Seinfeld, the neurotic, overbearing mother whose every appearance sent the audience into fits of laughter. That character made her a household name. It also made it nearly impossible for the industry to see her as anything else, boxing her into a comedic archetype that followed her for the rest of her professional life. When she appeared in The Parkers in 1999 as Miss Agnes, she was 71 years old and still delivering with the same precision that had defined her from the beginning. It was a small role, but she made it memorable, because that was simply what she did. Her voice work for Disney and various commercial campaigns provided financial stability that many of her peers lacked. At the time of her passing, her estimated net worth was $5 million, a reflection of decades of consistent, professional output that never stopped even as live-action roles became scarcer. What the cameras never captured was the profound grief that settled over her final years. Her husband, Cy Harris, her partner of nearly 70 years, passed away in 2021. That loss was not just personal. It was the removal of the person around whom her entire private world had been built. She spent her last months in Palm Desert, California, largely retired, largely quiet. On April 2nd, 2022, just 20 days before what would have been her 94th birthday, Estelle Harris passed away from natural causes. Nearly 7 decades of marriage, nearly 7 decades of making people laugh, both deserve equal recognition. Nancy Wilson, Aunt Rita. There are voices that entertain, and then there are voices that inhabit you, that find a place somewhere deep inside and never fully leave. Nancy Wilson had the second kind of voice. Born on February 20th, 1937, in Chillicothe, Ohio, she grew up surrounded by gospel music and rhythm and blues, absorbing the emotional language of Black American music before she ever set foot on a professional stage. Her career as a jazz and pop vocalist spanned more than 5 decades and produced over 70 studio albums. She won 3 Grammy Awards and was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Her 1964 recording of "You Don't Know How Glad I Am" remains one of the defining vocal performances of that era. She was not just a singer, she was a chronicler of human emotion, capable of taking a lyric and turning it into something that felt confessional. When she appeared in The Parkers in 2001 as Aunt Rita, she was 64 years old, still carrying that unmistakable warmth and elegance that had defined her public presence for decades. It was a small role, but her natural authority filled every frame she occupied. Her personal life carried its own weight. A divorce from drummer Kenny Dennis in 1970 left her a single mother, navigating the entertainment industry alone. Her later marriage to Reverend Wiley Burton brought renewed stability but required personal sacrifices. Venues she could no longer play, aspects of her former life she set aside to honor her role as a minister's wife. Both her parents died in 1998. Her husband succumbed to kidney cancer in 2008. Each loss pushed her further from the public world she had once inhabited so brilliantly. Health problems beginning in 2006, including severe anemia and potassium deficiency, forced her to cancel concerts and retreat to the mountains of California. On December 13, 2018, Nancy Wilson passed away at her home in Pioneer Town, California, at the age of 81. Her estimated net worth was $15 million. But what she left in the music, that cannot be appraised. Teena Marie, herself. She was one of the most unlikely icons in the history of rhythm and blues. A white woman from Santa Monica who sang with a depth and authenticity that left Black audiences not just accepting her, but claiming her as one of their own. That crossover was not a marketing strategy. It was earned, note by note, night by night, over a career that began in the late 1970s and never lost its emotional intensity. Born Mary Christine Brockert on March 5, 1956, in Santa Monica, California, Teena Marie signed with Motown Records as a teenager and released her debut album, Wild and Peaceful, in 1979. Her partnership with Rick James produced some of the era's most celebrated music. But behind the recording sessions and the chart success was a professional relationship with the label that would become a legal battleground. In the early 1980s, Motown placed her under a contractual arrangement that prevented her from recording or releasing new music with any other label, a clause so restrictive that it amounted to professional imprisonment. The financial and emotional toll of that legal battle was severe, but she fought back and she won. The result was the Brockert Initiative, a California law that set strict limits on personal service contracts in the entertainment industry, protecting future artists from the same kind of exploitation she had endured. That law is her gift to every musician who came after her. When she appeared in The Parkers in 2000 as herself, she was 44 years old, past her commercial peak, but still deeply beloved. She raised her daughter Aaliyah Rose as a single mother, never married, and carried the emotional weight of a life lived largely on her own terms. In 2004, a falling bed frame struck her head, causing neurological damage that triggered chronic seizures and significantly limited her ability to perform at full capacity. That injury quietly shortened her remaining years. On December 26, 2010, one day after her daughter's birthday, Teena Marie died in her sleep at the age of 54. Her estimated net worth was $3 million. She changed the law. She changed the music. She deserved more time to change even more. Andre Rosey Brown, Lamar. Andre Rosey Brown never got the role he deserved. That is not an opinion. It is a pattern that repeated itself so consistently throughout his career that it became impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Born on February 7, 1956, in Rockford, Illinois, Brown was a large man in a profession that had very specific, very limited ideas about what large men were allowed to do on screen. And so they cast him as bodyguards, as security guards, as the intimidating presence in the background who existed to make someone else look smaller. He appeared in over 40 films and television productions, Friends, Frasier, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, brief appearances, supporting roles, faces in crowds. Each one professionally executed, none of them remotely close to what he was capable of. His most meaningful role came in 413 Hope Street, a drama series in which he played Morgan Washington, a character with genuine emotional complexity and a full interior life. For the first time on screen, Andre Rosey Brown was fully human. The show was canceled after 8 episodes. The cruelty of that timing is almost too precise to be accidental. When he joined the Parkers in 2002 as Lamar, he was 46 years old and had spent nearly 2 decades navigating a system that consistently reduced him to his physical dimensions. He accepted roles that paid bills rather than fulfilled ambitions, because the mortgage did not care about artistic integrity. He had retired from the police force in 1998, and the transition to full-time acting brought financial instability that strained his marriage to Deborah Brown significantly. The man who had once been a provider found himself chasing opportunities in an industry that was never going to give him what he truly deserved. In quiet interviews, he once said, "I just want one role where people remember my name, not just my size." He deserved 100 of those roles. On July 18, 2006, Andre Rosey Brown died suddenly from a heart attack in Northridge, California, at the age of 50. He had kept his illness private to protect his family from worry. That final act of selflessness was entirely consistent with everything he had been. David Graf, health inspector. David Graf was the kind of man who put everyone else first: his family, his colleagues, his craft, right up until the moment his body could no longer sustain what his spirit kept demanding of it. Born on April 16, 1950, in Lancaster, Ohio, Graf grew up in the American Midwest with a straightforward work ethic and a genuine love for performance that never curdled into ego or entitlement. He studied at Ohio State University and built his early career through stage work before his defining screen opportunity arrived. As Sergeant Eugene Tackleberry in the Police Academy franchise, a series that began in 1984 and eventually stretched to 7 installments, Graf created one of American comedy's most enduring supporting characters. Tackleberry's military intensity, his almost religious devotion to weapons and protocol, and his complete inability to read a social situation made him instantly beloved. Graf played him across all 7 films with total commitment, but that commitment came with a shadow. Tackleberry became so closely associated with Graf's public identity that the entertainment industry struggled to see him as anything else. As the Police Academy franchise wound down and comedy taste shifted, Graf found himself navigating an increasingly narrow professional landscape. When he appeared in The Parkers in 1999 as the health inspector, he was 49 years old and still giving every small role the same dedication he had brought to the films that made him famous. Behind that dedication were financial pressures that he rarely discussed publicly. With 2 sons still in school and acting opportunities becoming inconsistent, Graf and his wife Catherine managed their household with careful austerity. He had been experiencing chest pain, shortness of breath, and persistent fatigue. Doctors had recommended a cardiac examination, but in April 2001, he chose to travel to Phoenix for his brother-in-law's wedding first, deciding that family came before his own health. On April 7, 2001, David Graf collapsed and died from a massive heart attack in Phoenix, Arizona. He was 50 years old. His estimated net worth at the time was $500,000, a modest figure for a man who had appeared in some of the most commercially successful comedies of his generation. He died as he lived, putting everyone else ahead of himself. Johnny Brown, man. Johnny Brown spent more than 6 decades making people laugh, and spent his final years wondering if anyone still remembered. That gap between the laughter he gave and the recognition he received is one of the quieter tragedies in American entertainment history. Born on June 11, 1937, Brown was a naturally gifted performer with a radiant smile, a commanding voice, and a physical expressiveness that could communicate an entire emotional landscape without a single word. His most prominent role came in Good Times, the groundbreaking CBS sitcom that ran from 1974 to 1979 and depicted the daily realities of a working-class black family in Chicago with unprecedented honesty. Brown played Bookman, the building superintendent, a recurring presence whose comedy was always grounded in something recognizable and real. That role made him beloved. It also made him a specific type in the minds of casting directors, and that specificity followed him for the rest of his career. Guest appearances in The Jeffersons, Martin, Family Matters, and Kenan and Kel kept him working, but never elevated him beyond the gravitational pull of a persona that the industry had decided was his permanent ceiling. His personal life offered what his professional life sometimes could not. His marriage to June Brown lasted over 6 decades, a partnership of extraordinary duration and depth in an industry where long relationships are genuinely rare. Their daughter, actress Sharon Catherine Brown, extended the family's artistic legacy into a new generation. But the professional frustration was real and cumulative. In one candid moment, Brown acknowledged that he felt invisible in the very world that had once celebrated him. That kind of invisibility, experienced not in obscurity, but in the aftermath of visibility, carries a particular kind of sting. On March 2, 2022, Johnny Brown collapsed shortly after leaving a medical appointment where he had gone to have a pacemaker installed. He was taken to a hospital in Los Angeles and did not survive. He was 84 years old. He gave the world 6 decades of laughter. The least the world owes him is 6 decades of remembrance. Robert Doqui, Walter. Robert Doqui had a presence that was impossible to overlook, a deep, resonant voice that seemed to come from somewhere fundamental, and a physical stillness that communicated authority without needing to raise its register. Born on April 20, 1934, in Stillwater, Oklahoma, Doqui built a career that placed him consistently in important productions, while consistently denying him the recognition that his work deserved. He appeared in Robert Altman's Nashville in 1975, one of the most critically acclaimed American films of its decade. He was part of the RoboCop trilogy from 1987 to 1993, appearing in all 3 films as Sergeant Warren Reed, a character whose moral clarity and institutional loyalty served as one of the franchise's quiet anchors. He was in every frame he was given. He was simply never given enough frames. The pattern that limited his career, talented black actor, reliable in supporting roles, never quite handed the material that would allow him to demonstrate his full range, was one he navigated with a dignity that never publicly curdled into resentment. He appeared in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, in various television dramas, and in The Parkers in 2001 as Walter, a brief role delivered with the same attention he brought to everything. His marriage to actress Janie Michelle ended in 1978, a personal loss that coincided with a period of professional stagnation. The 2 disappointments, arriving together, must have required significant reserves of resilience to absorb without breaking. What the public did not know was that Doqui had been battling chronic lung disease for years, a condition he kept private, continuing to work whenever opportunities presented themselves rather than retreating into the comfort of disclosure. On February 9, 2008, Robert Doqui passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 73 from natural causes. He was the kind of actor who made every production he entered more credible, more grounded, and more human. That contribution deserves to be named, even now, even this late. Terry Rhoads, Reginald. Terry Rhoads arrived in Hollywood with genuine talent and an instinct for character work that his resume only partially reflects. Born on December 31, 1951, in Phoenix, Arizona, he entered the entertainment industry in the 1980s and gradually established himself as a reliable presence across some of the most watched television of the 1990s and early 2000s. Friends, Seinfeld, House MD, Desperate Housewives. Every appearance was precise. Every character was inhabited rather than merely performed. And yet the leading role never came. Rhoads existed in that particular professional purgatory that swallows so many talented supporting actors. Visible enough to be recognized, limited enough to be categorized, and categorized too specifically to ever break entirely free. He was often cast as the spiritual stand-in, the wise peripheral figure, the presence that gave other characters context. He played those roles with craft and consistency, but he knew they were not the full measure of what he could do. When he appeared in The Parkers in 2003 as Reginald, he was 52 years old and had been navigating that purgatory for 2 decades. The frustration was real. The professionalism never wavered. His personal life carried its own complexity. His first marriage to Deborah Renee Yetter produced 2 children, and its end left him with the familiar restructuring that divorce requires. His second marriage to actress Lisa Sims in 1990 brought renewed companionship and remained stable until his final days. But Rhoads openly acknowledged his greatest personal regret, that he and Lisa never had children together. That unfulfilled wish stayed with him, quietly, throughout the years that remained. Then came the diagnosis that would reframe everything. Amyloidosis, a rare and debilitating disease in which abnormal proteins accumulate in the body's organs, gradually shutting down systems that sustain life. For nearly a year, Rhoads fought its progression, becoming too physically depleted to continue working. On October 11, 2013, Terry Rhoads passed away in Encino, California, at the age of 61. He died beside Lisa, his quiet, steadfast companion to the final moment. A man of that loyalty and craft deserved a longer story. James Karen, Robert Van Lowe. James Karen lived long enough to watch entire generations of actors rise, peak, and fade while he kept working, steadily, professionally, and with a humility that was genuinely rare in a profession that tends to reward the opposite. Born Jacob Karnofsky on November 28, 1923, in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, Karen came of age during the golden era of American theater and brought that theatrical foundation to everything he subsequently did on screen. His film resume reads like a selective history of American genre cinema. He appeared in Poltergeist in 1982, playing a real estate developer whose cheerful dishonesty sets catastrophe in motion. He was in Oliver Stone's Wall Street in 1985. He appeared in The Return of the Living Dead, Restoration, and The Pursuit of Happiness. Each role distinct, each delivered with the kind of lived-in specificity that takes decades to develop. When he appeared in The Parkers in 2000 as Robert Van Lowe, he was 77 years old and still bringing the full weight of his experience to a guest role that most actors his age would have coasted through. That was simply not in his nature. What haunted Karen privately was not failure, but the fear of disappearance. The anxiety that decades of genuine, committed work might ultimately dissolve into the indifference of cultural memory. He was not chasing fame. He was afraid of erasure. That distinction matters. It speaks to a man who understood that the work itself had meaning and who feared above all that the meaning might not outlast him. In his final years, his memory dimmed and his physical strength declined. He continued appearing in smaller productions for as long as his body permitted, because stopping felt like a form of surrender he was not prepared to accept. On October 23, 2018, James Karen passed away at his home in Los Angeles at the age of 94. His estimated net worth was approximately $1 million, modest by industry standards. But the performances he left behind are the real accounting, and that ledger is far more generous. Jean Sincere, woman. Jean Sincere gave nearly 8 decades of her life to performance, and spent the last 2 of them in a silence so complete that most of the world never noticed the transition. Born on August 16, 1919, Sincere came from a generation of performers for whom the stage was not a career choice, but a vocation, a calling that demanded total commitment and offered unpredictable rewards. Her theatrical roots ran deep. She appeared in Brigadoon and Wonderful Town on Broadway, establishing herself as a versatile performer capable of handling both drama and musical comedy with equal command. During World War II, she was among the entertainers who traveled to perform for American troops, a contribution made quietly and without expectation of recognition, in keeping with the values of her generation. Her most widely heard performance came late in her career, when she voiced Mrs. Hoganson in Pixar's The Incredibles in 2004. A small role in one of the most beloved animated films ever made, delivered with a warmth and specificity that demonstrated her craft had not diminished with age. When she appeared in The Parkers in 2003 as Woman, she was 84 years old, still present, still committed, still the consummate professional she had always been. But behind the professional consistency was a private world that had been quietly contracting for years. Her marriage to Charles Carmine Zambello, which began in 1949, was the foundation around which her personal life was constructed. When Charles passed away in 1992, that foundation crumbled. She withdrew from social life extensively, choosing solitude over the effort of rebuilding a world that had been so thoroughly reorganized by loss. Her two children, an opera director and an art dealer, extended the family's creative legacy in different directions. But Sincere herself retreated to a simpler existence, far from the industry that had defined her for so long. In her final years, age-related memory loss began to take the performances she had spent a lifetime accumulating. Roles, lines, faces, stages. The architecture of a career slowly dismantled from the inside. On April 3, 2013, Jean Sincere passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 93 from natural causes. She gave the world nearly 8 decades of her art. She asked for very little in return. That kind of generosity should be remembered long after the roles themselves are forgotten. 14 lives, 14 stories the credits never showed you. Some died with millions in the bank and still felt invisible. Some died with almost nothing, having given everything. Every single one of them showed up, delivered, and made the Parkers something worth remembering, long after the industry stopped remembering them. Here is the question worth debating in the comments right now. Did fame protect any of them? Or did it simply make their suffering more invisible? Drop your answer below. And if these stories moved you the way they moved us, share this video with someone who grew up watching The Parkers. Black Excellence Legends exist because these names deserve to live forever, not just in reruns, but in memory.